Hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Today is a day that we talk to you. We get you on the phone. We hear what you are concerned about. I'd like to get your temperature on what is happening in the country. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way about the... I don't even know his name. I don't care enough about this story to even know his name. The guy from the Young Turks that took on Dan Crenshaw. I don't think Dan Crenshaw really cares what that guy's opinion is of Dan Crenshaw. He's a soldier. He is a congressperson. He has handled himself with class and dignity all the way. I don't think that guy's I don't think his name is worth repeating or even learning. You know, we're living in a time now where everybody has an opinion. Well, we've always had that. Yeah, but now everybody's like armpits. Everybody has one. But now everybody's like, smell mine, smell mine. No, I don't think so. I don't want to smell yours. That guy was saying the same crazy stuff over the phone to his 10 friends that he's saying over the internet now to his 10 friends. Anybody who wears a tank top, I don't think I have to listen to. Linda, let me go to you. Linda in Florida. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Thank you, Glenn.
Right.
I'm concerned. I'm a lover of the Constitution. I have been watching you since Fox. Thank you for everything you've done for our country.
Thank you.
I loved Mike Lee. I've been hearing things. It started with the crime bill. I watched him, a few interviews. He wasn't concerned about it. You know, he thought it would be okay. Like red flags came up to me.
Okay.
Then I heard about the antitrust. When he was interviewing Zuckerberg, he really asked some softball questions. He really didn't get on him at all. I've heard that Google has done fundraisers for him. I heard that some of his staff is being hired, $750 million data processing in Utah. And I see a change in him, and I'm really concerned because I thought he was a patriot. I don't know how they got to him.
Linda, I will tell you this. I just was, how long ago? I was in Vegas 3 weeks ago. Mike happened to be speaking at an event that I was speaking at. And we had a long lunch, the two of us. And we talked in private, and I was very frank with him. We spoke about Google, not about the data processors or anything else. But we've spoken about Google. He is very concerned about Google. I believed him. I still believe Mike Lee is that guy. I haven't seen the change. He has always been for prison reform. This has been one of the things he's always been for. I agree with you. I am concerned about it. But I also think we needed to have some prison reform. I do wish he would have talked to some of the judges before he went off with his proposals. Because I think the way we did prison reform, the things that we did, there are some people that need to be kept in jail. And we're going to see the ramifications of that. Hopefully we won't, but I think we will see the ramifications of that. But I'm sorry to hear you say that about Mike. I will go back in and take a look at some of those things as well, because that's why I don't have any friends, Linda, because when they start to go bad, I rat them out. So if there's something there, I'll let you know. Thank you. Let me go to Tony in Pennsylvania. How are things in Pennsylvania, Tony?
Yes. Hi, Glenn. Glad to talk to you.
Sure. Glad to talk to you. How are things in Pennsylvania? You called and you're on.
Well, it's cloudy and rainy, but we're surviving.
Right.
My basic thing is I'm a veteran, retired business owner, and I've been driving for Uber and Lyft for a while to make a little extra money. And you get the opinions of people who, and the morals of opinion that I never got before doing this. It was a kind of an eye-opener for me. And I was surprised to see how many people, one is really don't tell you how they feel until they get in certain situations. You have to be careful bringing up Donald Trump.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I basically keep my political opinions to myself until they bring it up, and then I'm still very careful. I basically found that people like him. They don't like his tweets. They like some of his ideas, but they'll never admit it to anybody else.
So what does that tell you, Tony?
It basically tells me that people think one way and some ways do another. They won't. It's not a question of honesty. It's a question of maybe being afraid to say how they really feel.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way our parents were. I remember my grandfather and my dad, they would tease each other, who are you going to vote for? Because my dad was, I think, a Republican and my grandfather was a Democrat. And so they'd always tease each other. And my grandfather would say, none of your damn business. And they'd laugh. That was kind of the way we all were. It's none of your business. Why do you even care? And so I think it's kind of a good thing that we're, maybe keeping some of our opinions to ourselves, but not for the right reasons. I think you're right. I think people are afraid. What is the temperament of the people that you're picking up? What do you sense? Economic optimism, economic pessimism? What do they feel like? What are the things they're worried about?
Well, I've met a lot of nice people, and I've met a few I don't want to meet again. But the basic thing is I think there's a little bit of optimism there, even in the ones that don't want to tell you they are. I picked up a young gentleman, and he's a little darker tan than me, and he impressed me so much. I tried to help him out. He wanted to start his own painting business. He knew that he didn't have the connections or even the equipment to do it. And this man went house to house asking people to paint their houses. And that's the kind of optimism that I think people miss. He doesn't let anything cutting down, race, religion, anything. And that's the kind of thing that I've met people like that impress me, that America's not totally, oh my God, the sky's falling. There's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
They're just outshouted by the ones that aren't.
I will tell you this, Tony. I think that's the feeling I get from America wherever I travel, that people are not caught up in all of the stuff some of the people that watch politics like me all the time worry about. I get so dark and pessimistic when I talk to people in Washington, New York, media, politics. But then when you go out and you're with people, schools and wherever, they're not like that. They're just not like that. And more of them are getting tired. Thank you, Tony, for your phone call. Let me go to Mike in Florida. Hello, Mike.
Hi. I was wondering, I totally believe that grassroots organization, effective grassroots organization, is the most important way we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm trying to find out if you have any intention to resurrect 9/12 or even lead some sort of an organization amongst Tea Party groups.
Listen this fall. I'll leave it at that. Listen this fall. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Today's the day, we try to do it once a week on Thursdays, the day that members of Blaze TV can call in and talk about anything that is on their mind. Let me go to Jeff in South Carolina. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, Glenn?
I'm good, man. How are you?
All right. Want to give you a different perspective on these China tariffs.
All right.
I think Trump viewed China the same way Reagan viewed Russia, an existential threat. But rather than using a military buildup to try and to drive Russia into bankruptcy, he's trying to use these tariffs to collapse China economically to force a revolution in their country.
So
he's using the strength of the American economy as our nuclear buildup, basically.
Sure. I think that is possible. I think parts of it are even plausible. I think that wouldn't be a bad effect that he has considered. I will tell you that Donald Trump just likes tariffs. He has told me that himself. I just like tariffs. I just think they're good. I think they're effective. So that's why he's not just doing this to China, he's doing it to the rest of the world. I will tell you that we're playing a very, very dangerous game of chicken because the entire world is fragile now. I don't mind a very well-calculated game of chicken as long as we all know what's on the table. When Reagan did this, we all knew, dude, if you keep talking like this, we could be vaporized. But he also stated this is an evil empire that must be stopped. The best thing I saw with these tariffs was the move against 5G. China, make no mistake, is the biggest enemy we maybe have ever faced. And they are in our country like you cannot believe. 5G is just going to let them take over the world. My problem is when he came out against it, he was absolutely right. And now it looks like he's squishy on the 5G technology coming out of China. That's very, very bad and sends a mixed message. I just pray that our economy is stronger than even I have thought before, and can withstand what's coming, because it's not just tariffs. I believe, I don't like tariffs. I don't mind them when you're up against somebody like Russia or China, but it's not good for the economy. And as long as we're all playing with that understanding, okay, let's make sure we get something real out of it. Thanks, Jeff. Let me go to Travis. Where are you in Idaho? Travis.
Just south of Boise.
Just south of Boise. Great place to be from.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Been a fan for a long time. Thank you for all you do. I'm a truck driver, so I read and listen to a lot of history and a lot of things. And John Adams talked about our Constitution and said it was designed for moral and religious people and wholly inadequate to the governing of any other. And whether you look at things from a historic point of view, like much is pointed out in the 5,000-year leap, or religious point of view, or basically any point of view, our society is at a point where, unless there's a return to that morality at least, and religion hopefully, that we're probably not going to turn the ship around, and that catastrophe is talked about often on your show in the form of a total financial collapse, the end of our monetary system, and other things is probably what in the end is needed and will happen in order to turn things around and have people turn back to that morality. And so in your question, what at least in part what I like to hear on the show often is, how do we continue to live as well as we can, prepare for that probably inevitable future, continue to fight for, as much as we can, the right people, and although I think in the end politics is a losing battle, yet we have the duty to fight for it as much as we can to elect good and moral people to have lead us as far as that can go.
Okay, so Travis, really great, well-stated comments here. Let me respond by saying I hear what you're asking for, and I think we're on the same path. There's been a change in me that's been coming for a long time, but I've had one heck of a 4-month period with my family, and seems like it's just been under attack, and so I've spent so much of my summer, and I am appreciative to all the Blaze members who have not given me any grief for being away for so much time. But my family is the most important thing, and something just happened this week, and I said to my wife, I'm so glad that I don't work at Fox and I don't do this anymore, because I wouldn't be able to care for my family. And that's really important. So what's happened with me is what I want to start sharing starting in September is one of the themes of the show is going to be putting your house in order, preparing for not crazy stuff, just preparing. And a recession is coming. I don't know when. Could be 2 years, could be tomorrow, could be a depression, could be a complete financial collapse. I don't know. But I do know this: we should be out of debt as much as we possibly can. We should lock down everything that we have. We should shed ourselves of as much of the crap in our lives as we can and shore up our families. Then when we look at the news, we have to look at what matters most. That's why I led this show with the Dan Crenshaw thing. I know there's people that are dedicating whole shows to that today, and that would be a big ratings winner. People like to be outraged and to be on the morally correct side. Well, on that one you are. And but it's not worth your time. It's not worth your energy. It doesn't matter. Dan can take care of himself. He's not affected by this guy. And neither am I. Neither am I. I'm glad I know who he is. And it's another reason to say, wow, Young Turks, maybe not who everybody thinks they are. But then again, just look up the Young Turks and tell me how you feel about the name of Young Turks being what they chose in seeing that those were the people that did the Armenian genocide. So it's house in order, what matters most, and then the last one is the biggest battle. There is something that needs to be addressed, and I don't know anybody that will address it. I don't know anyone who will address it. And it might make me, it just may make me into a laughingstock or a freak, and I don't care. But it's been on my heart for a while, a long while, and it's time. It's time to talk about one thing, and that is the only thing that will get us out of something like that. And we'll be talking about that coming up this fall. That kind of relates to what the last gentleman says. Let me go to Gary in Ohio. Hello, Gary. You're a small farmer?
It's more of a hobby now, but
I just read an article today that farmers are so angry with Trump, and the farmers are at their wits' end.
Not necessarily. The guys around here are willing to take a little bit on the chin because they know the long range outcome will be better.
That's amazing. Please don't listen to any of the audio that you're being sent because it's so far behind and delayed. So how are things with you and farming?
Well, like I said, it's small. We're considered hobby anymore, but the business is the reason I called in. The tariffs have had a small positive impact on the product I'm selling here. I sell truck accessories, truck parts. Some of the tariffs it did start to increase the China product, and as it started to come in, the product was getting cheaper. They were showing up broken, rusty, low quality, and then as these companies in the U.S. started to move the product back to the U.S. and even Mexico, the quality has increased dramatically. The parts are showing up in much better shape. The price didn't change from what it was from when it was being manufactured in China. In fact, some of it even went down up to 2 to 3%. So I guess there is a small positive you can take from the tariffs. I know it is affecting things, but I don't know what the total outcome is going to be at the end of this. But it is bringing some jobs back here to the U.S., and it is improving U.S. products.
Gary, thank you so much for your phone call. I find it fascinating that on the day that I read about how depressed the farmers are, a farmer calls and says, hey, I think we ought to keep our chin up. There's some, really good news, too. Let me go to Dale in Oklahoma. Dale, go ahead. Dale, are you there?
How are you today, Glenn?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm remarkable.
Good.
Hey, I gained 12 years retail experience working for that huge retailer, which shall remain nameless. Now, our first economics class always tells us that on a graph, when you graph supply and demand, they meet at a point called price. But I learned in those 12 years, when there get to be fewer and fewer of them, something else happens. They say they may sell 80% of what they're sent, and there's not moving anymore, so they'll mark them down a little bit. They may sell a few more, and they mark them down a little bit more. And finally, there comes a point at which price is always greater than zero, and you can't give them away.
So how do you relate this?
Even if they were free, you can't give them away. You have to throw them out. When our politicians are saying free college, what they're doing is telling the normal people out here in the middle of the country that a college education has no value at all.
Thanks for your perspective on that, Dale. In some ways, you're right with education. I mean, our kids go to school because they have to go to school. I just watched the State of Free Jones. Is that what it was? State of Free Jones, something like that. It's a movie out, and it's about the Civil War. And you watch how African Americans start to educate themselves once they can, and they are just paying attention. That's because education wasn't available at all. And people want to be educated because they want to take control of their lives. Our kids really, they have to go, so they'll listen. It's their teacher's time, and they'll do just what they have to do. That's kind of sad, and you're right. If you make it free, then you make the entire educational experience as something that you just have to do. And you also get rid of all those jobs, because if the government is doing it, well, you better have a certificate from this college to do any job. And that is going in exactly the wrong direction. Back in a minute. Finally, a tweet that came in. I absolutely believe this, Glenn. There is evil in this country, but there's more good. The story goes to prove that. Just sit and watch as we do. And people in times of tragedy, we come together and help our neighbor. We jump in and help. He was talking about El Paso. I believe that is true. And as long as we continue to exercise that muscle of love, compassion, and neighborly help, America's going to be fine. We just can't let others talk us into something that we are not. From Dallas.